Shanti Shanti. So all are awake, they are not sleeping. In deep sleep, all these elements, they are all sleeping. But in this state, they are not sleeping, they are all awake, fully awake, but they are not moving, there is no function. Then the consciousness, which is now left free, it manifests itself. The consciousness manifests itself. When the knowledge organs are not functioning, but they are not sleeping as in sleep, the mind is not functioning, but it is not sleeping as in sleep. When the intelligence also is not engaged in analyzing, in vichara, it is not functioning. There is no cheshta, there is no effort from the intelligence also. That is the state when the consciousness, it reveals itself. Why? Why in sleep it is not revealing? Because in sleep our faculties are all sleeping. The consciousness is still awake. Consciousness never sleeps at all. That is why coming out of the sleep we can say that I slept very well, I did not know anything. So that gap of knowledge is felt. That is felt by the consciousness. Now what happens is that the faculties are not sleeping, so that the consciousness is not revealing any of the manifest world, nothing, no fragmentation is there. The consciousness in its pristine form is revealed. It is registered by our all faculties, and it becomes an experience for our memory that I had samadhi, I had nirvikalpa samadhi. That becomes an experience which registers its occurrence in our brain, and it becomes a part of the memory. On the basis of that memory, we start understanding the world in a different manner. That is what takes place. Now, to understand this Om and the Atma, Mandukya Upanishad has dealt with in great detail, and not only that, it has only 12 shlokas, 12 mantras, but to explain them, Gaudapada has written more than 200 karikas, small shlokas on this. Those are extremely important in presenting this knowledge in its most abstract form. They are very, very important, and it's the highest level of abstraction perhaps we can think of. So I will just chant the 7th verse of Mandukya Upanishad, which is considered to be very important, and which speaks of this consciousness in terms of what it is not, as I said earlier, neti, like that. It is Nanta prajnam na bahih prajnam no bhayata prajnam na prajnana ghanam na prajnam na prajnam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam acintyam avypadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram prapanchopashamam shantam shivamadvaitam chaturtham manyante satma savijñeyaha. I will read breaking and repeating. Nantah prajñam na bahih prajñam. Nantah prajñam na bahih prajñam. No bhayata prajñam. Na prajñana ghanam. Na prajñam na prajñam. Adrishtam avyavaharyam. Agrahyam alakshanam. Adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam. Acintyam avyapadeshyam. Ekatma pratyayasaram. Prapanchopashamam Shantam Shivamadvaitam Chaturtham Manyante Saatma Savijñeyaha. So he is trying to give us a concept. As I said, that whatever words we may use, they are only helping us to reach that transcendental truth. They are coming close and closer, they may come closer and closer to the truth, but they cannot explain the truth, because all our words are within the ken of duality. They are all concepts of our mind, and the truth is beyond duality, transcending all the concepts of our mind. So they are trying to explain what is this Atma. Atma, sa Vijñeyaha. That is the Atma, and that has to be known. Now, if they had already explained what is the Atma, then they would not have said that sa Vijñeyaha. Suppose the Atma had been defined by all this term, then he would have ended as Saha Atma. That is the Atma. They would not say sa Vijñeyaha. Saying sa Atma, he is saying sa Vijñeyaha. Vishesha Rupena. We have to know it very well. We have to realize it. That is the Atma. That has to be known, or that has to be realized. Na anta prajñam na vahih prajñam no bhayata prajñam na prajñana ghanam na prajñam na prajñam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam atintyam avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram prapanchopashamam shantam shivamadvaitam chaturtham manyante saatma savijñeyaha. He says, na antah prajñam. Antah prajñam means, in dream we are knowing, whatever we are knowing, it is all inside. So the consciousness which is knowing the dream, the world, the dream world within, you cannot call the Atma is that. Because that is only a fragmented idea of the Atma. So it is not that. Na bahih prajñam. In wakeful state, the external world we are awake to. So the consciousness is revealing the external world. You cannot say that as the Atma. They are all included in the Atma, but you cannot define the bahih prajña as the Atma when the consciousness is aware of the external universe or the internal universe. None of this you can say that is the Atma. No bhayatah prajñam. It is neither in between the two also. That inside and outside, it is nor in between the two also, which is knowing in between. You cannot say that. Na prajñana ghanam. That is referring to the Sushupti state. Because in Sushupti, it is not fragmented by any world revelation. In dream we are seeing all variety, all fragmented world. In wakeful state also we are seeing variegated world, all are fragmented. But in Sushupti, there is no world, no fragmentation at all. But the consciousness is still there. That is why it is called, they are calling it prajñana ghanam. It's a consciousness and consciousness alone. But that is also not the Atma. Na prajñam, na aprajñam. It is not the usual, na prajñam means it is not the usual consciousness we are referring to. Why? Because we always think that my consciousness is within my body. It is an evolute of the body. So that is not the consciousness the Shastras, the Upanishads are referring to, the ultimate truth. That is not that. That is only a reflection of the real consciousness in our buddhi or bodhi, you can say, in our prajna. The whole, when the body is a part of the nature, when it is developing in the form of a human being, finally in the brain somewhere, it is producing a reflection of this consciousness. That is what we call chidabhasa. We don't call it chit. We generally refer to the consciousness as chit. But what we feel as our body limited consciousness within is called chidabhasa. You can see the diagram. There we have shown that considered the light is coming from the sunlight is coming, all parallel rays coming down. Now we have put the mirror, you can put a mirror in that sunlight at an angle. Then what will happen? This light is falling on the mirror and the reflected light is going from the mirror. So with this reflected beam you can see various things. Just by turning the mirror you can see various things with the reflected beam. And this reflected beam will depend partly on the quality of the mirror also. Suppose the mirror is colored, if it is yellow, then the reflected beam will be yellow. If it is red, the reflected beam will be red. If the mirror has got some irregularities, then the shown by everything there will be some irregularity also seen. If it is dirty, the dirtiness will be also be what the world it is showing that will have that quality also. That is what is happening in our case. Whatever we are seeing, depending on our sense organs, because we have 5 senses, according to that we are perceiving the world. Suppose we had 7 senses which could sense the magnetic field or electric field or anything else which we do not know of, then the whole world picture would have been different to us. We would not have seen the world like this. Suppose even if our eyes have been a little more sensitive on the infrared side or ultraviolet side, then also all our visions will be different. All the world we see would have been absolutely different. It will depend on our indriyas, whatever with what we are seeing the world. Suppose we develop a microscopic vision where we can see the elementary particles to the level of say electron, proton and all, then all of you will look absolutely different. You will be all electron punja or the elementary particle punja. Punja means assembly of some particles and they are all smeared everywhere. You won't fragment a person, he is my enemy, and you are fragmenting him as different from you. It is not like that. Everything is a mass of everything, it will get smeared up. So the world we are perceiving is depending on the mirror we have. Now you can, in the light coming, you can put any number of mirrors. They will reflect the same light and show, you can see the world with the reflected beam. They are like so many bodies, they are reflecting the same consciousness and showing the world to that individual mirrors. Now, suppose we turn the mirror towards light. Slowly we turn the mirror looking at the light. Then what will happen to the reflected beam? It will no more be there. You will not find any reflected beam. It has got merged with the original beam coming. Now our problem is, we think that this reflected beam which is coming from the mirror, it is originating from the mirror. That means we think that the consciousness with which we are perceiving the world, both external world of the external objects as well as the internal world of our thoughts, emotions, everything. All these we are seeing with the Chidabhasa or the consciousness in us. Now we feel that this is encapsulated in our body, it is in me, it is fragmented from other consciousness all over. But is it true that the consciousness, the mirror, suppose this reflected beam of the mirror, is it originating from the mirror or it is the same light reflected by many mirrors? Am I clear? If we start thinking that the reflected beam is originating from the mirror, we will be wrong. But generally we are thinking like that. Now when you turn the mirror towards light, that reflected beam is no more there. It has got merged with the original light and the mirror is seeing the original light falling on it. It has got all merged. But at that time you don't see the world at all because the reflected beam is not going out and showing you anything. This is exactly what happens in our samadhi. When we try to look at our Atma, that is with all this whatever we are discussing, with Pranavo Dhanusharo hi Atma, Brahmatal Lakshyam Uchyate, Apramattena Veddhavyam, Sharavat Tanmayo Bhavet. What are we doing? We are trying to focus our attention to the Atma within. We try to find out the Atma within. What is that Atma? That means our normal focus is outward, or at least inward, to see what are the thoughts, what are the emotions. But here we are trying to find out what is that revealer, what is that I in us which is revealing the external world as well as the internal world. So the mirror is turning towards itself, but it cannot see like that. It is always given to the tendency of seeing something different from itself. See, whatever we are seeing, when we are seeing the thought also, we are trying to see the thought as different from I. That I is revealing the thought. It is different from the I. Now here we are trying to see the I, which is revealer, which is revealing everything. Now with that I, how can you see the I? That is the problem here. So our tendency to see always something different from I will make us always look for that Atma or I as different from us. If you understand properly, the whole problem will be solved. That when we are trying to know what is that self also, we are meditating, our tendency is to discover the self as different from me. That I want to see what is that self. Self is never going to be discovered like that, because whatever we see or we discover like that, it is an object before us. It is whether it is a concept or vritti or whatever, it is an object before the revealer I. If it is, suppose I say that this is myself, then that is not the self which is discovered. Self is what is revealing that self. So here we have to go back to that self, and that is the problem. So when we actually turn towards that, then no more any objective, in the objective level, nothing is revealed. Only the subject looking at it, it gets merged. Actually in the absence of the object, there is no question of subject also. So it goes beyond the subject-object duality. When the Atma is revealed, it is called aparoksha anubhuti. There, the absence of the object, there is no question of subject also. So it goes beyond the subject-object duality. When the Atma is revealed, it is called aparoksha anubhuti. There, you don't have the subject-object division at all. That is what happens when the mirror is turned, means that is the Chidabhasa, which is taking the reflection from our Atma. That is turned towards the Atma. Actually, the self is revealed by itself. But when this is also an illustration I am talking about with the mirror. Truly speaking, when we are discussing the consciousness, this mirror is also made of the consciousness. There you have to go further. You have to step up your abstraction. That the whole universe, which contains your body-mind personality as a small speck, which is our individuality, that is part of the universe. That whole universe is appearing in the consciousness, in the Atma, in the Paramatma, in the Brahman. All the three are same. The whole universe is appearing there. Then the universe which contains your body-mind personality also, then can we call that consciousness within the body? The body is within that consciousness. The consciousness is not within the body. Only the reflection of this consciousness, when the body reflects this consciousness, that is what we generally feel as the small Atma, which is encapsulated by body-mind complex. And that is what we call in our Shastras as the Chidabhasa. So that Atma has to be, this Atma we know, the small Atma we know, which is fragmented from others, different from others, which is hidden in the body-mind complex. But when we look within, first we try to discover the Atma within, so we look within. But as we look within and proceed towards that I, when we reach that I, there is no within, no without, nothing at all. We call it Pratyegatma because of our sadhana, that we start looking within to find out that Atma. That is why we call it Pratyegatma. But when we reach that Atma, we find that there is no fragmentation at all. That is the consciousness, that is the Brahman, in which the whole universe is appearing to be. The wakeful world is appearing in that, the dream world is appearing in that, and unconscious or the sleep state is also appearing in that. That is the Atma, that is the Turiya, is what the Mandukya Upanishad is saying. So calling it fourth is only in comparison with the other three, they are calling it fourth. It is not a part fourth like that. It is encompassing everything. It is the transcendental. That is why we are saying that it is parallel to the transcendental Sukshma Nada, Bindu Nada of the Om. There it transcends the matras A, U, M, and it goes to the silence in the transcendental level. That is what Mandukya Upanishad says. So the Upanishad is repeatedly trying to give us a wholesome concept about this Atma, so that when they are saying Om Ityevam Dhyayatha Atmanam, that dhyana has to be on the Omkara, but not the Omkara as a symbol. We have to know that Om is representing the Atma. And what is the Mahima of the Atma? What is the glory of the Atma? What are the coordinates? How we can go closest to the Atma? Unless our mind and intelligence they get more and more clarity, it will not, the dhyana will not be proper. It will not reveal the truth. That is why Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, these are referred to because of that. The more and more we listen to the truth, we read about the truth, we ruminate on the truth, we contemplate on the truth. It is full of contradictions, full of questions. There will be so many questions that the Atma is all pervading, then how can it go from here to there? I am feeling my Atma is in the body. So all those questions have to be replied by our intelligence. They have to understand this what is meant by this transcendental level. Then only this is what is meant by Pranabodhanusharohi Atma Brahmatal Lakshamuchyate Apramattena Vedhavyam Sharavat Tanmayo Bhavet. That Apramattena Vedhavyam, that when we are meditating, that pramada has to go, because we are full of pramadas, full of delusions. That has to go. Not only that, he said, Sharam Hyupasa Nishita Sandhayita. What is the arrow you have to put? That is what your being is, the mind, intelligence, being. There he says, Upasa Nishitam. Upasa Nishitam Sandhayita. Sharam hi Upasa Nishitam Sandhayita. Upasa Nishitam, that means it has been sharpened by Upasana. Upasana means Upasana, sitting near it. That means the truth. You have not reached the truth, you have to sit near it. Now whatever we are studying, Upasana generally we mean puja or dhyana also. But in knowledge practice, the Upasana means we are trying to visualize the truth, more and more ruminate on it. By that what is happening? The intelligence, the mind, everything is getting purified and sharpened. It is the process of sharpening, whetting the arrow. Like that we have to, like the arrow, we have to sharpen our body, mind, personality, our mind, intelligence, personality. When it is done and with lot of attention we try to hit the target. This is what I said, that the turning the mirror. What we will do with that? We have to know that if we look for something different from me, I am not going to discover the self at all. Because self is the revealer, it is not the revealed. The revealed object, as long as we are looking for the self, something different from me, we are not going to find out the self at all. When we are not looking for anything at all outside, the whole world is forgotten, including my own body-mind complex, that is forgotten, but we are not sleeping. Then what happens? The self reveals itself. That is the point. So there we have to be extremely attentive about what we are going to meditate on and what the lakshyartha of the mantra is. That is why these explanations are very important. The wholesome explanation given by Mandukya Upanishad in these 12 verses, 12 mantras, that completes the explanation on the Atma, and which is same as Brahman also. So that becomes important in understanding this. Now you see in these last two verses also they have mentioned that if we go deep into it we will understand. He said, Yasmin Dyoh Prithvi Chantariksham Otam Manassah Pranaishcha Sarvaihi Tamevaikam Janathatmanam Anya Vacho Vimunchatha Amritasya Isha Setuhu. He says this is the bridge to, or the path to immortality, Amritatva. Because when we reach this Atma, which is not encapsulated by the body, mind, personality at all, the transcendental Atma, the one universal Atma, which never changes. So where is the question of Janma, Mrityu, anything coming? We transcend Mrityu only then, when we transcend our limited body-mind complex and we arrive at the all-pervading one transcendental Atma. So he says, Anya Vacho Vimunchatha, leave all other words, that whatever has been spoken of the various vibhutis, this, that, rebirth, karma, nothing is necessary. Simply focus on this concept of this transcendental Atma. Tam eva ekam atmanam janatha. Janatha, O Shishyas, O seekers, he is saying, the Rishi is saying, O Shishyas, you know that one and that alone, evam, tam eva, that itself, that alone, ekam atmanam, one Atma, not the multifarious Atma in different bodies going from here to there. Those are not necessary. You know that which is one, which is all pervading.